312-981-7200. Here is something interesting and different. I had never heard of a human behavior hacker until I heard about Susan Ibitz. She is with the Human Behavior Lab. She jumps on the phone with us right now. Good morning, Susan. How are you?
Good morning or good night. I haven't gone to sleep yet. So,
well, then I guess it's good night. Where are you located, Susan?
I have a house in Chicago, but now I'm in Ogden Dunes, Indiana. It's 35 minutes away from the downtown.
Are you kind of holed up there, or are you going back and forth a little bit during all this?
I love it here. It's quiet, and due to what I do, sometimes I have too much stimulus on the city. So when I need to write or do research, I try to get here half an acre, the lake, my Bambis, my squirrels on the backyard. It's peaceful.
Well, tell me, this is fascinating to me. It says some people hack computers, but you hack humans. You're a human behavior hacker. What does that mean?
That means that I freak people out. First of all, if we're going to need to look for a translation that people can understand is what a profiler does. Actually, I listened to one of your episodes when you was talking about Manhunt. That is based on Robert Kirshner. Is one of the only people that I couldn't study because he died before I could get hold on him. What I do is body language, micro expressions, statement analysis, a forensic analysis, face reading, and personality types. Most people on the market who around the world, you're going to find they do maybe micro expression and body language. I found out early in life that one cannot be disassociated the other. And 2 years ago, actually, I find out that nobody else has put all the channels together. And I was surprised because in my brain was like, it's like you're going to make a cake. You need all the rest, all the ingredients. You cannot make a cake without flour. Yeah. So for me, it's fascinating because you can read somebody's face. So what you do is through a picture, I can determine the feature in your face can tell me things about your personality. So I know how you intake information, how you process information. So once I have that information, I can approach to you. Is that an interrogation, hostage negotiation, interviews, sales, human resources? So when I'm in front of you, I know then I can start communicating in the way they call the platinum rule, the way you need to receive the information, or the way I want to give it or receive it. So when I give you information or asking you for information, I can be reading your body and your micro expressions. And even though you can define in somebody trying to deceive you in an email and a text and a real conversation, or you can determine the gender, the age, and education on an anonymous letter.
This is fascinating. Now, I'm trying to think in everyday life. So if I was, say if I was hiring somebody, maybe I would need you for something like that. But am I going to bring you in and introduce you to the person, or are you going to train me how to read these signs?
I do both. For example, when I work with lawyers, what I do is they send me the statements. I never know less than I know about the person, more than I can find, because I don't have biases. If you tell me, oh, you know what, Susan, I need you to analyze the picture of my wife. So now I know it's your wife. I know it's a relationship. I need to withhold information. So less I know better. So, for example, when I work with lawyers, they send me the statements before they go to court, and I mark through colors what are things that are hot spot, or they need to review the statement. In the case that you want to learn, we teach people too. That's what we say through research and teaching. That's how we work. Because people who work in universities and do research, they never try it on the road. And when you try it on the road, you need to bring them to the lab to confirm. So both need to work together. So we do consulting and training people how to do it. And from the both things, I love when I teach people, because the first thing that I do when I get in a class is I need 5 volunteers. And people's like, okay, and I start reading their faces and I start telling things about them. And you have 3 reactions. People cry. It's like, you know my therapist? So those are the kind of reaction. I don't know if you have the chance to see on the web and the new websites that we launch. We have some cold reading that we have done with people, and like the reactions are natural. Those are not prepared. Yeah. I never saw the people before. I just read in cold reading.
So what made you decide to start doing things like this? Like, how did you fall into this?
Long story short, we are 4 brothers and sisters, and my dad always believed in quality time, not quantity time. So my quality time with my dad was on Sundays watching Columbo. And I started developing this like crazy kid idea. I want to have a superpower. And my dad always says, what superpower you want to have? I want to read people's minds. I want to know what people are thinking. And in my early teens, I found out that the superpower I want exists, and it's called a science, as the science of human behavior. So it says, oh, my God, I want to be a FBI profiler. Yeah, I found my career. When I started college, I found out that I'm highly dyslexic, and I'm never going to be able to follow the normal path to go to college, do my master, my PhD that is required. So I said, okay, it's so many ways to get to Rome, so I'm going to get to the same point in a different way. So I start contacting and researching until I found everybody that I wanted to train with. I'm a host and negotiator level 3, international certified as a civilian. I'm going to be talking in a conference for the first time as a civilian, closing a host and negotiation conference. That's such an honor. After 20 years of careers, it's one of my highest honors because it's like to belong. I studied with Paul Ekman International in London. I studied with David Matsumoto. I studied with Lina Cisco Interrogation. I studied with Amino Ansapir, the person who developed statement analysis. I studied with a mentee of Robert Shai, who is the one who helped the FBI cut the Unabomber. So I put the pieces together. Instead to do a traditional path, I get to the same point in a different way. You see, even though sometimes it was difficult, I get happier on the place that I'm today and the way I'm doing it today. Because if I would have ended on the FBI, I would be helping only a group. Now I can help everybody who needs the help.
Well, explain to me, Susan, so in our everyday life, how important is it that we can read other people in the way that you can, whether it be our neighbors or our kids' teachers and our bosses at work? Is this something that can be used in everyday life?
Absolutely. When I have friends, they're a couple, and they start talking to me and says, oh, my God, my boyfriend or my husband is driving me crazy, and says, he doesn't do it on purpose. He's not trying to drive you crazy. The way that he intake and process information is different. So if you're a visual person and you're a person who needs facts and data and tend to interrupt because your brain is working too fast, and I'm talking to you, giving you a huge story, and I give you all the gossip who happened in my office today, you've got to get irritated. If you have high ears and small ears, you get overloaded with image because you process information too fast, and too many images is going to overload it, or too much information is going to overload it. So if I want to get to you a message that is clear and make sure that I can avoid the weirdness to the first impression, and I can talk to you the way you need it, we can avoid fighting. Because if you can put 2 people in front of them and says, okay, I need to receive information this way, I need to receive it this way. If we make the effort to do that, we would avoid so many problems. Couples, co-workers, boss with employees, employees with bosses, friendships. I think it should be obligatory to teach people how to better communicate and read others. And the most important thing is reading yourself. Because sometimes when people act to certain things, actually they're reacting to your body language or your expressions. But I help people to better communicate. That's what basically I do.
I mean, everything in business, certainly, and in a lot of life, probably, really, you would say, comes down to the way we communicate with each other, I would imagine.
In business, if there are certain things that happen in business when a man, for example, who use a suit, get out of the table and bottom the suit, that person is ready to leave. Is not willing to negotiate anymore. Now, if the person get up and doesn't bottom the suit, it's still willing to communicate. When you cross in your arms, it can be due to the weather, can be due to that you have a belly or you're wearing the wrong clothing and it's showing. But if you cross the arm and you have two more factors like an expression in your face or you pulling away your body, that means that you're closing to an idea. But most people make decision when they cross the arms. And at the time that you uncross your arms is when you're ready to make the decision. And that, if you're a salesperson, is when you need to say, okay, call of action, whatever it is, give the price, give the demo, or says, let's make the deal. Another thing people tend to do is put the hand on the chin when they're thinking and tilting the head. Actually, dogs do the same. And most people who have been training think, oh, the person is close or it's mad. No, it's a way that we process information. So if I know that is your way to process information, I know in that point I need to stop giving you information because you cannot take anymore because you're in the process of thinking. So I need to stop talking to give you the opportunity and the chance to make your decisions. And then when I see that you change your position in your body, can bring more information away for you to ask it for it.
That's very fascinating because I found in business situations there are certain people who feel that the air must always be filled with conversation. When you're in a meeting, they won't allow a pause for a thought. They feel like then they have to tell you a little more. Oh, well, what if, and they keep bringing stuff out. But I'm guessing you would say you need to read the room. You shouldn't always necessarily keep throwing stuff at somebody. Let them process and digest and give them a moment to gather their thoughts.
Actually, it's a technique. It's called the 3-second pause. If I'm interviewing you or I'm interrogating you and you'd say something to me, I tilt my head, put my hand on my face, and I make a silence, you're going to feel the need to complete that information. And that's when you're going to get your food in your mouth. The worst thing you can do is talk more than you need to talk. Lawyers do that in trials. HR do that in interviews. Interrogators do the same. And it's a technique. If I stop talking, consciously you have the need to keep talking. And more you talk, more I can learn about you, because people sooner or later they're giving away themselves. You can control yourself in the first 5 minutes, but after that, who you are is going to show. I can listen to a person tell a story, and I know if the person is lying or not. The other day, when you still were able to go out, I was in a coffee place waiting for a coffee, and I hear two people talking at the table, and one asked to another, so tell me, how much is they gaining and how much is they losing in this business? And I says, oh, my God, you never do a question that way. And the other person says 10%. So first of all, the person did a composed question. You did two questions in one. And when the other person it says 10%, the person who made the question is going to automatically think that he's going to only lose 10%. But the other person doesn't specify, and you didn't clarify the question. So you never, ever do composed questions. So you never made two questions. You ask your kid, do you have homework? What you did today? Oh, Dad, I did X and Y. He didn't tell you if he did the homework. So what you need to do is come back and redo the question. People don't lie to us. We don't do the right questions. So if we learn to stop, think, and understand that the words have as much meaning as the body, we would have a better understanding in how we communicate and how we receive information, no?
Yeah, I would imagine so. 312-981-7200 is the phone number. A texter asks, do you ever have trouble correctly reading somebody who's wired differently from the norm? My best friend is very smart and nice, but has face blindness and very high-functioning autism. Her body language is different from most, so it's not uncommon for people to think she's somewhat nasty and sarcastic, but she's really not.
What happened with people would, only to clarify, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm talking from the human behavior perspective stand. People with Asperger autism, they have difficulties understanding the basic emotions, and in this case, the 7 basic micro-expressions. They do not understand between anger or happiness or surprise. So I do know that a lot of people who work in behavioral analysis, and their behavioral analysis is specialized, they work with people who is autistic to help them to understand the situation and read the emotions to others. You can read the emotions to them, but they have the difficulty to understand other people's emotion. That's the reason most people think that people who is autistic is weird, socially weird. No, they're plain, they're raw. They don't have filters. Why? Because they don't understand the same way that we understand. Actually, it's a brain problem that some people have difficulties to understand emotions in others. If you have, I cannot remember, it's not in the amygdala. I'm going to remember as soon as we hang up. I'm sure for me. Yeah, it's a long day. But there are possibilities that people cannot read others.
In today's age, with everything that's going on and us being quarantined, a lot of meetings and tons of meetings are taking place over platforms like Zoom. So when we're doing video meetings, is it different? Because I would imagine that maybe the idea of reading somebody is the same, but we're all out of our normal element. And when you're on video and you're maybe not completely used to it, you might react differently, you might look differently, you're not looking right at the person, you're sort of looking at the camera or looking at their video on the screen and not directly in their eyes. Do you find it different trying to read people when you're looking at them through a medium like that?
You just hit the high pot, because I've been spending the last 45 days of my life teaching people how to do body language for video. And first of all, it's a misconception between introvert and extrovert. Introvert and extrovert interact socially the same way. It's how they recoup information and how they recoup energy. If you put a person who's an introvert 9 to 5 and video calls, they're going to go crazy. They're going to blow their minds. Extroverts, they're doing great. So first of all, you need to understand how the other person intake and process information and how to recoup information is so important. Second of all, when you're doing video conferences, you need to show your hands. The first thing that people notice on you, their hands. It's not your face. Why? If you have someone talking to you with the hands hiding under the table, you don't know what is going on. Our precambric brain think like, you have a gun, are you going to hurt me? So when you're doing video conference, first of all, the camera needs to be between your head and your umbilical cord. I need to be able to manage my hands in what we call the Clinton box. Second, the camera needs to be in 90 degrees. Third, do some cleaning in your house. I don't want to see your pajamas in your bed, please. I don't want to see your memorabilia collection or the posters you have from when the 80s. No, I don't want to see that. So it's important, the content of the video. Second is the audio. If you need to invest in anything, invest on the audio. People get really aggravated when they cannot hear you. Third is the visual. Never sit in front of behind a window, because the other person is not going to be able to see your reactions, and people get nervous. Always sit with the window facing your face. So if I can see that, I can read you. But you know what's the only thing in your body who never can lie? You can learn to manage I work as a political consultant for a long time in D.C., And I always says, I'm going to teach you how to control your face. I'm going to teach you how to control your body. But where your feet are facing is not where you really want to be. Even in a date, in a business, and just a social occasion. So that's the only thing is killing me to only do video now because I cannot see your feet. But I would say if you're going to do a video and you're going to be effective, do those simple things. Now, if you want to be reading someone, ask the other person to get a certain distance. When you still can see the face, you can still see the reaction, and then I can see the hands. And definitely you can be reading someone in video.
So explain to me the feet. If my feet are pointed, so if I'm just talking to you or I'm on a date or I'm just with friends, where my feet are pointing is where I really want to be. So if I'm pointing my feet away from my friends, then I don't want to be there with them?
Can be a specific situation that the friend is telling you something that is bothering you and you prefer to not to be in the room. If they pointing to the bathroom, I always give a break. When somebody's wiggling the leg and pointing to a different direction, is, do you want to take a break? Oh, great. I'm going to go to the bathroom and come back. So, but always the feet pointed to the person that they want to be connected. If you're in a social network and you're talking to someone, check your feet because sometimes we are not conscious. And you're going to notice where is the person that you have more feedback or you have more interaction or you like the most on that meeting based where your feet are facing. Freud used to say you can lie with your face, you can lie with your body, but your feet are going to give you away.
Interesting. Well, I'll have to think about that next time I'm in a meeting and I sort of lay back or sometimes I would think you're just getting comfortable in your chair. Sometimes these meetings are long and you sort of cross your legs and turn your hips. It's never that. It's always related to a subconscious where you want to be. Actually, you can turn your hips. It's one of the things is like, I wish I was in front of you so we can do it and explain it. Sit in your chair that you are. Okay. Sit comfortable. Okay. In order to cross your legs, one of the legs need to be anchored on the floor. Correct. So the leg who's anchored on the floor is the one who's going to determine where you're going to be. You can be twisting, for example, from the hip up, turn completely to the right and pay attention where your feet is facing. Is facing the same place, but your torso is facing to the other way. Your feet, and you can move your feet to the left or to the right, and your torso be in front of. So they're always going to give you away. It's fascinating. I wonder how many of us are going to be hanging around this weekend with our people we're quarantined with, watching where their feet are. I know you don't want to be here. I can see it in your feet. Susan, I'm going to give you another thing away. We're going to start dating and socializing really soon. So if you're going to start dating again, if you're going to a date, you know how people is doing on the day too, for how near the glasses start coming. If the glasses start coming near and people start moving things from the table, they stop moving the barriers, you know that date is going to go well. So if their glasses, if their drink glasses are close to them, it's bad. But if they're leaving them more in the middle of the table and the glasses are getting together, that's a sign that they're doing well? Yeah, and it happened in business settings too. If you see that sometimes you go into a meeting and you start moving the plate and things from the table because it's like visually distracted. Yeah. Well, happen the same in dating and business. If you avoid having things between you and the person that you can interact, it's a visual barrier that you eliminate. So piece of advice, always eliminate everything that can be distracted so people can see your hands and you can be reaching the person in front of you. Susan, my feet are pointed towards the side because I'm going to be late for the news in a minute, so I have to get going. But I'm going to have everybody go to humanbehaviorlab.com, check out the website, check out what Susan does, and see the videos. It's pretty amazing. Susan, I hope we can have you back again sometime soon. Thank you so much for being part of the show tonight. News is next on 720 WGN.